Hi, I'm Wayne Tuttle, and welcome to Chasing Legends. Welcome back to Chasing Legends. I'm your host once again. Please go over to our website, www.legendsofsuperstitionmountains.com. Hit the About section, all the info, everything you need to know. Subscribe. Hit the notification bell. All right, so we through now episode 4, and it was probably kind of like where you start to see where we're going. One of the things that's odd about it is looking back how far it was. We made that journey kind of after we'd been out in the mountains. This is all before COVID happened. So you're looking before even COVID really came out. In fact, I think we'd just come out. It almost followed right after we'd done the last episode with Frank and Trevor and myself, 2 and 3. And it just fell in line with that. And then the whole world changed. Suddenly everything and Frank's concerns and this and that. It took us a year to get our kind of wheels again, because while we would make trips, and people always have to understand, we'll make a trip and it's not scouting, or it's not, I always tell Trevor, bring the camera and let's see what film. And then sometimes you just sit there and go, it kind of seems redundant. It kind of seems like what we were doing. So we got out a couple more times, but then we also realized when we started going back over the last couple of years of footage, there were a lot of things we did. Sometimes we're not filming for intentional saying, well, this is going to be a Legends episode. And it works out where we realize in hindsight, wow, this worked out good in this footage, because it goes with everything we were doing at the time. So the plan was the spiral and the general area, and we're working on all this stuff. And then, of course, everything got disrupted. But this did follow the first episodes. You're probably talking, I would say, about a 6 to 8 week period where all this transpired. Trevor had come home. We went out back out with him, and then Trevor was gone, and Tyler and I went out and did looking for the hieroglyphic stone. Of course, that took a year or two to unravel of everything, and we could have done it in bits and pieces all through this, but I felt it deserved its own standalone. So we filmed, and then we kind of took everything else we had around and then kind of put a nice ending to that, because we wanted to resolve that. And it was a good ending. There was so much effort made by everybody involved to resolve that story. And of course, Greg Davis did help us with some documentation he found from the Latter-day Saints, where it said where the hieroglyphic stone came from the Sacaton Mountains in Hieroglyphic Canyon there. It was one of those odd things that no one ever questioned it, so nothing ever changed about it. And I just, when we went out, because in my head I'm thinking, Sal says it was somewhere around here. I asked Sal repeatedly, where was it from? He said, well, I don't exactly know. And I think he even kind of thought in his own mind a couple general spots. And then everyone had this attitude for a year or two, well, prove it to me. And I'm thinking, but the documentation, none of it stands that it would be from the superstitions. No one, except for Kim Johnson, really seemed to be supportive of what I was thinking. But I was just questioning that none of this makes sense. It just doesn't. We're all trying to say it's a Mayan Calendar Stone and it's from the superstitions because it says hieroglyphic. It was all assumption of all these things. And it turns out it was just none of the above. But it was good to put it in the perspective of the right place. Unfortunately, there's books and material came out and I tried to help people with, and nobody wanted to make changes. Jesse Feldman listened, and once I presented to him, Jesse, I think, came around, because I think when he did his hardback, I think he said there was going to be changes to that. And it's good, because you want to progress and realize, hey, you know what, we assumed something and it was wrong. But as we're moving forward in the episodes, it was kind of like we were moving all over the area and then focusing back. So it's not going to just be repeated 8 straight episodes of us going back to the same place, doing camera drops, trying to climb down in and showing you film. We wanted to kind of like explore all the possibilities and ideas. Now, you can reference episodes of Chasing Legends where we talked about Henry Burns. We talked about the Holy Stones and a number of other things and told some stories surrounding this. So you'll be able to reference it. I've heard Wayne talk about some of this. And that was because it was taking so long to be able to put pins in the ends of some of this, because we just didn't have the ability to get out. I think it was COVID, and then once COVID cleared up and we started getting back out, it was nudging ourselves back into the situation. But nobody had been going out doing much for so long that we had to kind of get the wheels turning again. And then we had to think, well, where the hell were we? You know, we know we're working on this, but these other things, because we had a good idea of how we wanted to tell this whole story. But then we'd done Chasing Legends, so we were like, oh, well, where do we move from this? So it was kind of like we knew where we were going for 12 episodes, and we kind of have everything worked out. And then we're having to kind of do some things and letting some things fall into place. So the next episode features footage actually that happens right around the same time again. And it's falling in place chronologically at that point. And then you will see a bit of a jump because we just couldn't get out. And if I got out, it was me by myself. And like I said, if it's just me and Trevor or me by myself, we don't film enough and don't film the same way. Sometimes the filming's done to give us something to look at what we want to do in the future. There's a site recently we filmed a couple times. I've done some filming and some pictures, and we've done some filming, and we'll probably do filming in a third trip. And it might just be a single standalone episode, but the idea behind it all was sometimes we're like, okay, this makes sense. This is what we'll present to people. It makes sense, and it tells the whole story. Sometimes you go out and film, and you go like, we've told this story. We really didn't move anything further or anything forward. Let's not bother. So there's going to be a little bit of jumps in some of this, and I think everybody will understand it, but it's trying to tell the overall story. And hopefully we can find a way to kind of, without saying reference, Chasing Legends number 203, you know, so people will understand what we're talking about. And so we'll do a little rehashing, which television shows do all the time. But it was from the very beginning of us wanting to tell 12 episodes of one specific story and kind of looking at it of like, hey, what's this about? And we knew it was going to take a considerable amount of time. Those first 2 episodes or first 3 episodes were probably 5, 6, 7 hours of filming footage. And you take and break it down and it becomes a few hours. And the same continues to go on for the rest of this. Sometimes Trevor's like, well, I don't know what to do with this. And I'll say, well, take this over here and put it with it because it belongs with it. And so we do a bit of that. So not trying to confuse everyone, but the next episode does fall shortly into place after the last time we'd been out to the Spiral. After we'd made the trip out to the Latter-day Saints Temple. So it's chronological, even though the last episode featured material and stuff from the last couple of years interspersed as it kind of did its own storyline finished out. So the petroglyph stone, it's not a Mayan calendar stone. It's safely back in Sacaton. It's at the Gila River community, and it's where it should be. And there's a lot of little things tied into it that they just asked us not to discuss. I talked to a couple people, and they were like, well, would you not mention this? Would you not do this? They don't want anyone out there messing with anything. And I'm willing to respect that. So the fact that we got to photograph, know the story, they talked to us, shared a lot of information with us, and then said, we really don't want some of this made public. We were like, fine, okay, but we know what the end story is. And so that's that. Now, that's the first part of all this that I wanted to talk. The second part is people will say, this is kind of a cool storyline, and a number of people have commented, and we're not doing the lives right now, but they've commented like, well, this would have been a great, yeah, it is very Oak Island-like. In fact, when I did Beyond Oak Island, I had a folder, and in the folder I had, it's like 2-3 pages of bullet points, and it says, oh, this, and this, and this, and it was a lot of like readings we'd taken out there, and surveying we'd done on the site and stuff. So I took all that information, blew up a bunch of pictures and a bunch of 8x10 stuff, and then I had the newspaper articles and stories and various drawings and maps people had given me. So I had a big, thick file, and I made copies. And I gave one to Prometheus, and then I gave one to someone attached to working with history and A&E. And I said, hey, if you guys, I don't have to be involved in this. Any questions, just call me. But this is a really cool story. I think this would be good for something. Don't need any credit. It'd be nice if you said production consultant or something, or have me guest in it or something. That's cool, but I don't need that. I just think this is a really cool story. I think people love to see professionally told. Crickets. And so then I went to Karga 7 as well, and Unexplained Unexplored. And I told Emiliano and Justin, I said, go out to this place. You need to check it out. Here's all the information I have. You guys are going to your minds are going to be blown at all. Crickets. Science Channel. Crickets. Well, I kind of understand with them, the science, but I would have thought they would. But the whole thing with all these different things, I thought it's the basis of a really cool show. There was another company I kind of like talked to them about. They had something else. This is just when COVID happened, and they were like, we got something we're looking to start up probably in the next 6 to 10 months. Would you be interested? We talked for a while, and I said, well, I got this thing that kind of is really cool. And they got very Oak Island-ish about it. Like, wow, this is actually pretty cool. We can see where this is going. And I said, if you send someone out to scout the area, I can take them out. And I just wanted the story told. So we're filming and doing stuff. I wasn't looking to do a major story on it or a major television show based on it or bring us back. It was, this is a really cool story. We should tell this story. But nobody's interested, and they're looking for creative stuff. And then I'm seeing the stuff they're putting on television. I'm thinking, but there's this really cool story. Now, I even talked to Gary Drayton, and me and Gary didn't get a lot of time. And I don't know how much and all, but I was trying to kind of tell him, is you need to talk to the Laginas or anybody there that's interested, is they might want to come out. Nothing else. If they're out in the area, I'd be more than happy to sit down and show them this stuff, because it'd be cool for something they might be interested in, or someone else, or yourself even. So it was me never trying to sell a TV show. It was me trying to sell, there's this cool story that someone should kind of grab onto. So where we're at is, after 4 episodes and going into, I believe, episode 5, is I just gave up and said, you know what, we're going to finish this off and pull this together for everybody, because nobody else wants to do it. Now, just imagine if not on the shoestring budget of a few $100 or $1,000 or whatever we do. And I know we have professional equipment, 4K equipment. We're using digital audio and stuff. But just think if we had a crew of not 1 or 2 people, but just think if we actually had a proper crew and we're able to send stuff off. Just think what we could have done with this, with the creative minds and people behind it, and being able to have multi-cameras where, in our case, you're seeing, I don't know, you're seeing sometimes 20, 30 seconds, a minute, 2 minutes of filming, where most shows you're breaking every 15, 20 seconds, the camera angle's breaking. So it has a whole different effect. Just imagine if we had the manpower and ability to take this story and do that with that, where you're seeing us and you're seeing me here, and then from that angle and looking down and looking at this and looking over, and the drone comes over and does a little overview, but you're hearing the same audio. It'd just be really cool. So I saw the potential. I saw how cool this could be. I thought we had the material, and nobody would bite on the story at all times. In fact, what I'm really surprised at is nobody tried to go tell the story. I mean, all things considered, and I know Karga 7 kind of had talks with me about Blind Frog Ranch, and nothing personally against them, but that show, I don't know if it's going to do a season 3. But if that show runs a season 3 and they didn't pick this thing up, Just Explored is crazy. And looking at everybody that's been involved in it, with Bob Shoes and myself and various different people in Salvador, but Terry Carter, who I want to say thank you to, because Terry and Sal went out, and we were going out, and we were kind of had our little thing going. But it was very cool because Terry did go out and kind of seriously look at it. And he did help, because Terry, being up in Utah, was able to kind of check and see if he could find anyone from the Latter-day Saints that would know if anything with the petroglyph, hieroglyphic Mayan stone, if it had went to Salt Lake City, because that was one possibility. And Terry kind of coordinated with me. He's a great guy. I nothing more I love than seeing Terry and getting around and chat with him. I didn't this last time. We just got to do a kind of briefly this in March 15th. But Terry's an awesome dude, man. And if there's anyone I'm going to recommend to go see his videos, they're different. But Terry Carter's stuff is just awesome, because it tells such a wide range of great stories. And the guy's just a wonderful, nice guy. So, but that kind of sums all that up, is like, financially and so forth, and putting the time and effort into this, is we want to do our thing, our style. But I thought, okay, we'll continue to do this, and we'll see what happens with it. And it wouldn't bum me out in any way for someone bigger and badder and better to come in and take this story to a different level, because I think it needs recognition. Because part of it too is, I believe it takes a serious archaeological dig or archaeological permitting process to kind of solve some of these mysteries and some of the questions in this. And for that to happen, it's going to take something on a much larger scale. We're not talking thousands or tens of thousands or hundreds, that we're talking millions. So we're talking 1 million, 2 million, someone on a major production scale of a large size that would be able to go into something, and it's going to get enough interest to get the right person to come in and say, you know what? No one's going to make fun of me for walking into this. And I know an archaeologist out in California who's really interested in this stuff, and the Mayans and Aztecs and UFOs and stuff. And I thought about contacting him, but again, getting his interest and nobody else is interested in it is really kind of a shame. So I thought I'll sit back, and if at any given time this thing suddenly someone wanted to move it forward, we will. So, and it's not about us being able to get the funding. We're not a production company on that scale level with that contract with those groups. It was getting someone else interested where they'll take it. I'll take 100, 200, 300,000 views for doing this on this scale, but we're talking the difference, like with Legends, of 1.5 to 2 million people just domestically in the US, and then worldwide, Legends probably somewhere 20, 30 million people around the world, which is still a small potatoes compared to world population, but it's a much larger scale than we're going to get on in a niche thing like the Superstitions. But part of us presenting this is maybe this will spur the next person into the next level, and we'll get something more definitive. Because I really do think, and I worked it out, I talked to a couple people, and I figured out how that dig would have to proceed and what they would have to do. Of course, it'd have to be restored afterwards, but that was a big part of it. So as you go through this, enjoy this. Some of what you're going to see, there's some people are no longer with us as we move forward. There are some sites and some things that are no longer there either. So it's just funny in a few years how much is going to change over what you watch. And the last episode, while we might wrap things up on the 11th, I might just take the 12th episode. I'm just going through a retrospective of in just a few years how much the world around you with the people and the places and the things you're doing can change. And it's kind of sad, because sometimes you have to move forward on everything and realize, well, there's no moving forward because it's all kind of gone behind us. So there you go. But thank you so much, Kim Johnson and Rock down at Latter-day Saints, and Barnaby Lewis down at Gila River, and all the good people at Gila River, because they were awesome, and all the res dogs came over and shared a burger with me. But yeah, just thank you to everybody for getting in this far, and all of you watching, because we really do appreciate it. We really, really do. So I hope that kind of sets up this next episode. I'm working really hard at not trying to do anything or tease it too much, or do anything over the top of like giving something away, because I want everybody to stay engaged and interested. We're getting tons of great questions, tons of great feedback on it. And trust me, in 2 or 3 years now, we've checked a lot of boxes and gotten a lot of places with all this. So I hope everybody continues to watch and continues to enjoy. Thank you very much. Everybody have a wonderful week, and I know you can't wait to see this next Friday. It's going to be kind of cool. So until then, remember, I'm Wayne Tuttle, you're not. And this was Chasing Legends.